everybody to the Love and Action Deconstruction Junction podcast. I am Dr. Flo. Not telling you what I heard, but what I know. What I know is that you're loved and lovable. You've always been loved and lovable, and you're going to be that way, just like that, for the rest of your life. So much will change about you, but one thing that will not change is that you are loved and lovable. Every week, we are joined by the fabulously talented and amazing Tara Paolo Studio. I'll let her introduce herself to you today and then tell you a bit about why we do this particular segment of the podcast in the first place.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Tara Paolo. I'm your resident white-facing biracial multi-passionate musician. I talk about the ish that nobody wants to talk about and push you to do the same. I'm excited to be here today. This is going to be a spicy one. It's been cooking for 24 hours, so it's a spicy one all week. And you hear that bing. That is Dr. Flo sharing to the WhatsApp groups this live stream. If you are out there with us right now, please feel free to share with your friends. I'm going to go to Threads on my next little break and post there, as well as probably post on my Facebook, because I think this is a good one for some of the people there to see. But also, if you want to co-host with us, if you are interested in coming and bringing your thoughts, whatever that is.
Which includes Cory Booker. Cory Booker, if you want a book, we would love to ask you a couple questions, but keep going.
That part. But if you're deconstructing something in your life, if you are decolonizing, if you are doing new and exciting things in your workplace, if you are, whatever that looks like, if you're just like really passionate about politics, I'm very passionate about politics, or you're passionate about social justice, then that was a question in the room this morning. I think, like, what are you passionate about? I'm passionate about politics. I'm passionate about sports, politics, and sports. Anyway, so if you want to come on and talk about the sports politics on here, listen, I would chop it up with you for like hours about sports.
We would love to hear from anybody who has a bold and courageous voice. And we got some people lined up. I believe Lena wants to come on. Willow wants to come on. Stacia wants to return to the podcast. I'm sure Angie would come on and chop it up with us if we gave fair enough warning. So we want to hear from you. We don't know how much longer we have on planet Earth together. We don't even know if planet Earth will be planet Earth next year if y'all start wars and bombing and doing all kinds of other bullshit. So let's seize the moment and seize the day to come together. Maybe we'll get Poppy Water back on the show soon for his worldview and point of view in the world and what's making him I want to say trick and tick, but that probably would not be appropriate. So anyway, if you are interested in being on the pod, we would love to have you. We are broadcast on Substack, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify. We have a few hundred people that pay attention to us. By a few hundred, I mean a little over 500 people are paying attention to those platforms. And that is a small congregation of people who really want to invest in the moment and not just be led around by the propaganda and the nonsensical nature of the news cycle. We are people who want to analyze our lives and come out on top. And so if you got a subject that you'd like to see us chop it up about, or if you want to come on yourself, open door always. All right, first topic is Tara's. First piece of chicken to her. Why are we talking this week about Cory fucking Booker?
I don't know if y'all noticed. I don't know, and if you didn't notice, I'm not sure you're on the internet. I don't know. I don't think main news places covered it until he actually hit the 24-hour mark. But the reason that we're talking about Cory Booker is not that he has announced his run for president, but instead he chose to do something on the Senate floor in accordance with what he was hearing from his constituents. And so he held the Senate floor for a record-breaking 25-hour and 5-minute speech. So that is the essence of it. He talked about many different things.
Note that the record that he broke, and I'm so grateful, y'all. This has nothing to do with Cory Booker, but but a beverage that is his skin color. Coffee. Coffee is such a gift. I've had such a wonderful last 2 days of getting my thoughts out
Yeah,
because
you do this occasionally. Now, y'all, like we all do this kind of to ourselves. We find something that works really well for us, and then we're like
nah,
other direction, and it really screws with us. Now, Dr. Flo was on coffee for the better part of a year, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Nah, girl, I'm not doing it anymore." And I was like,
it scared me. I didn't want to become an anxious person. I didn't want to become the caffeinated shaker.
"Yeah, well,
You know, like, oh my god, I'm Dr. Flo. Like, I didn't realize that I could have like a balance. Like today, I did like a half cup. Like I did like a what they call an americano, essentially. So it's mostly hot water, but I got the boost I need in order to actually. Anyway, y'all, I'm completing more thoughts than I have in the last couple of weeks, and Corey's part of that. It's important to note, going back to our latter point, or former point, that the
the
record that he was trying to beat was that of a white supremacist.
indeed,
Senator Strom Thurmond wanted to filibuster and block the civil rights laws of the time. And so he stood on the floor reading the telephone book and other nonsensical things for 24 hours and what was it, like 14
18
minutes? What was
18
it? 18,
18
yeah.
yeah,
And Corey outdid that, which is the reason why I clapped and cried that night, because what he was reading was the voices of the American people.
the
He's
American people and some giants in civil rights, you know. Um, he focused a lot on John Lewis. I didn't know of Corey's like seemingly close connection to John Lewis. Um, I do wonder
not
what
seeming.
John Lewis would be saying today about Palestine.
Well, let
Uh,
me let me paint in the coloring book part of the seeming. John Lewis was the pro bono attorney that took on his family's case when they were going into new homes where families were being discriminated against. John Lewis was one of the people on the teams that sent in a white family to protect a black family to get his child home,
yes,
which
yes.
I
Thank
didn't
you.
know until I watched a greater part of that 25-hour spectacle.
Yeah, yeah. I think I saw it in a reel that he posted the following day. Um, but so anyway, the internet has been ablaze with anti-blackness, with Zionism, with a discussion around performativeness, et cetera, et cetera. We've got a couple takes on the next few slides. So if you want to make that big, and I will read to us. I have to, it's so small today. It says, because the time is always right to have integrity, Cory Booker's refusal to vote to stop arming Israel is complicity in genocide, and it isn't acceptable. I still found the speech inspiring for all kinds of reasons, but the moral catastrophe of our times will be Black folks with power wanting to stand against racism without standing up for Palestinians. They ain't the same struggle, but they are shared struggles, and we all deserve better. And I paired that with another thread that said Rafa is gone, Rafa is gone, Rafa is gone, and shows pictures of a demolished city. Next slide, please. Thank you. There is John Lewis and Cory Booker sitting on the steps together, and there's a quote there that says, I promise you, he was talking about John Lewis as he passed the record. It says, I promise you that I will do everything possible to make you proud. And here's another thread from someone. One more lesson from tonight. Don't assume nothing is happening just because you can't see it happening. The seed is not the harvest. A whole team has been gathering seeds for days. Tonight, they were planted. Over the next several days and weeks, they will sprout. And if we tend to them, yield. Change is a process. And we've allowed ourselves to get unused to anything that takes longer than 30 seconds. But clearly, we still know how to wait when it matters enough. And then there is one more slide that comes with a video, I believe.
Performative, it's performative, it's performative, it's performative. You perform for 24 hours. Performative, it's performative, it's performative, it's performative. You perform for 24 hours. Anything. Perform it for 24 hours. Right. Because all I would have is, I am not throwing away my shot. Performative, it's performative, it's performative, it's performative. You perform for 24 hours. Anything. Perform it for 24 hours. Right. Because all I would have is, I am not throwing away my shot. Performative, it's performative, it's performative, it's performative.
So we end on laughs here in a very.
Why does he sound like Lin-Manuel Miranda for real?
Listen, his whole page is literally just a Hamilton. It's highly amusing, and it pops up on my feed every once in a while, and I quite enjoy it. You know, we were talking with Papi Wada in a Discord room yesterday, and we talk about this every so often. About binary thinking. And in the days after Cory Booker's speech, there were a lot of people that were trying to invalidate his speech and the record that he took. And because of his vote for more funding to Israel. And my whole thing is two things can be true at once. Very bad people have made records, i.e. Strom Thurmond, who literally we just talked about, right? He had a 24-hour and 18-minute record filibustering civil rights. Like, just, that's a bad dude. And his record was upheld for 50 years until Cory Booker broke it. And is okay to acknowledge that. And is also okay, and this is what I said in the room yesterday, we knew Cory Booker was and is a Zionist prior to the speech. I talked about this on my droplets, but I don't expect the same things from everybody across the world, right? Like if I know that this person has received a bunch of money from AIPAC and beyond, I don't have an expectation that they're going to walk on the Senate floor and speak for 25 hours and suddenly say ceasefire now. I don't have that expectation of a person like that. Do I wish that the pressures would get to him and he would change his mind? Yes. Has he changed his mind? No. Did I expect it? No. And I think when you start just knowing that multiple things can be true and stopping invalidating records or important things simply because of one choice that you don't like, you start actually seeing people as whole. And the last thing I want to point out is that a lot of these people that are saying it's performative, a lot of these people that are, oh, his speech didn't matter because of the vote 2 days later, and I see y'all reposting those threads, all y'all are white. And you need to check your anti-blackness. You need to check it. That's all. Your thoughts on Cory Booker and his speech and the vote and the things we saw.
To your point, I assume that everyone in a certain caste for those of you on the podcast version of this, we're pointing to each other and making googly eyes because at a certain level of class and caste and socioeconomic status in this country, I assume that you're compromised. No one was waiting on the Senate floor for Beyonce to come and say ceasefire now. You're not going to hear it from Bernie. You're not going to hear it from the president. You're not going to hear it from anybody who is in that lane. Anyone who is part of the propaganda machine or the machine that is initiated and maintained to keep you distracted from what's real and purposeful and valuable to the happy, healthy. Why do you think we're sitting here just talking to ourselves with one friend on TikTok? We're not part of a machine that's meant to distract you from the healing and the helping of people. We're doing a whole different vibe. And so I know that Congress is compromised because they don't move on our behalf. And so I knew that he was doing something. You know, Cory Booker is very, very interesting. Cory Booker has a similar energy to like the Reverend Al Sharpton to me. He's always around for the photo op, and he knows how to connect the dots politically. There wasn't a single person that he spoke to when they were helping to relieve him on the floor that he didn't have some kind of personal childhood story with, or some kind, like there was a lot of kissing of ass. And we've done a whole segment here on this podcast about the kissing of ass. It's called ass kissing, or don't kiss ass. We've done that with receipts. I don't know what episode it is, but we'll figure it out. But there's a whole pandering to the establishment and to the institution that I did not enjoy, because the institution is killing us. The institution is ignoring us, and for them to get a representative of our community to do something positive, but also wrap it in negativity, or wrap it in, or have it be maintaining something that's hyper negative, was a problem for me as well. Poppy Water quipped as well that it was on April Fool's Day, which of all the days to actually choose, like why that day as well? Not that it was a joke, or that it was. It's kind of like a very interesting things happen in the political theater where it's kind of like, why that day? Same thing happened when they all went to gather at Madison Square Garden on the day that was the anniversary of a Schindler's List performance, right? And so we don't come online because we don't have anything better to do. Tara and I, frankly, we could play old lady board games online into the sunset. Once I can get a Minnesota home and a California home, it's going to have all of the Candyland, Scrabble, Boggle. I'm going to have a whole game room for that. We're introverts, truly. So we don't come out here to be inflammatory. We don't come out here to be flagged by TikTok or flagged by YouTube. We come out here as concerned citizens with some fucking sense, who know how to parse a discussion in a way to where we can clap for the Black excellence that is Cory Booker. We can also see that he is very deeply in the pockets of people who do not want to help you. He will read your email on the floor in front of the cameras while not being able to pee or eat. But the kids and the women and the men and the uncles and the aunts and the physicians and the people in Gaza deserve more from Cory Booker. And when he started like extolling the virtues of Jewish ideology and Jewish institution, and even at one point was speaking in the Hebrew tongue, I said, oh, we're not saving everybody today. We're saving the American dream and the idea of the lie that is democracy. But we're standing on a pile of bullshit. Cory Booker should check his shoes. It's got blood on it from the Gazan people that died under his watch in authority. He should check his shoes. It's very hard, I'm no Cory Booker, but I've been in hypocritical spaces where I was saying something like, God calls me to be pro-life, but not knowing one single school teacher in my community to actually help the kids that are growing. right? We can perform anything on camera. We can, and like, he walked right off the floor and took all of his network television interviews. I'm a little hoarse, but I spoke for John Lewis. It was very passionate. It did pull tears out of me. Cory Booker is a powerful lawyer and professional speaker. We gotta check the Chicken King, please. Okay, thank you. Yeah, just let her temper. Let the chicken temper. She can rest. Thank you so much. Yeah, she can rest. She can rest. She's crispy on the outside and gonna be juicy on the inside. Yeah, and Tara got there's a meat thermometer, but you don't have to take that far. I can tell that we're in a good spot. Right drawer of the stove.
Now, don't y'all be coming for his meat thermometer. Okay.
Listen, if you can't check the temperature of your meat, what can
and it
you
needs
check?
to be at least 185 degrees.
It needs to be at least 9.
You can't say that on TikTok.
So,
anyway, again, two things can be true. I think that one of the things that makes particularly political groups, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, leftists, conservatives, whatever you identify with, in particular, and I heard this somewhere on a TikTok the other day, that essentially political groups and political identification has replaced religion. And I see that a lot. Like the way in which those groups act. And I'm a person that has voted Democrat all of my life. However, there have been many a situation that I'm like, I don't think you're actually there for the help. But the point is that those people in those groups are oftentimes they are so binary in what is right and what is wrong that there is no room for that gray area in between. And that's where we get into a lot of trouble. There's been a lot of discussion on the internet between Black leftists and white leftists about how racist and anti-Black white leftists are, because it's a circular ideology that leads you right on back to, you guessed it, Nazism and genocide. So like,
and we're talking to you,
right.
Blue MAGA. We're talking to y'all, self-identified y'all, and also invisible y'all. Y'all gotta stop putting fuel into the fires of hatred and
your moral superiority
exclusion.
and your litmus tests of people is just never going to work. Like
Your DM judgment of me, I don't care if I've known you for 25 years or 25,000 years. If you're trying to silence me around reparations and a call for restorative justice, or try to put me in my place or guilt me out of raising my voice, you are not once again, I asked for a meeting with you and the other elders. These are people who are my parents' age, who are putting up violent depictions of Trump dolls being stabbed. That doesn't teach anything to the next generation. I'll take your check.
That is truly the thing. Like, how different, well, the Democrats wouldn't do that. They wouldn't say racist things, or they wouldn't inflict violence like January 6th. Are you all watching the same things that I'm watching? Because y'all do the exact same thing. It just, the Democrats have a little bit of a rainbow painted veneer to them.
They got more Black people at the crowd. Not yesterday. April
That's
5th,
not in this deck, so let's talk about it. It's not in this deck, so let's talk about it.
Oh, it's not in the deck. Oh yeah, let's talk about hands off day. All I was going to just quip and say, because life is a cabaret and also a quip for me. I was so happy, y'all. In the same week that Cory Booker stood up for the institution and in favor of the institution, we saw Black people from all over the paper bag test and the diaspora sit down on Saturday yesterday and say, we'll do anything for love.
Do anything for love.
but I won't do
But I
that.
won't do
And
that.
there were no dogs called. There were no smoke. Nothing that resembled January 6th happened at any protest that we've been reported of. I mean, if you're out there and you know something that I don't know, we are not above fact checking and information here. We fact check each other in the network and the leadership more than is even comfortable at times. We're not out here trying to like not heal ourselves and help each other heal. So we don't mind that. But what I saw, what I witnessed through the internet secondhand was white people singing "We Shall Overcome" as if they were standing in the midst of the civil rights movement of back in the day. You are in a civil rights movement, and it's going to take continuous action. The Alabama boycotts, the Montgomery bus boycotts that I'm pointing to, was something that was a strategic action that rolled out over many months. You got to remember that Rosa Parks was the light skin industry plant like what's the girl who's you think you're the shit, but you're really the fart? Ice Spice. Yeah, Rosa Parks. Y'all can send me the mail if you want to. Rosa Parks is the Ice Spice of this civil rights movement. There was a black woman who refused first, but she wasn't good enough for the NAACP's narrative. They needed someone that was closer to Tara's comfort, loved and lovable. I don't know what's happening on your audio. Is there something like rubbing the mic, or is there something like I'm going to like a? It
I
could
don't
be
know.
me. I don't
Is
know.
it there now?
You're probably fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
No, you're good. You're good, my love. I
No, it's okay. Sorry.
ADHD. No sorrow for love. But yeah, Rosa Parks was placed there. She was also then held up by black political institution as the person who desegregated the bus line. That is the punchline that we hear about. But these people had been ridiculed, had violence enacted upon them. They had been in the trenches. John Lewis is such an interesting category of hero to me because I heard the stories. I would never want to rock anybody's idea of this great American hero. There certainly have been worse heroes that are extolled. My issue with the John Lewis thing is very simple. He got beat for the freedom he should have had in the first place. And I think that's what black people are waking up to. We're not going to put our bodies, because there's been a lot of conversation about the black body. There's even further deconstructed conversation about like, why do black people talk about the black body as if they're not whole? We're not a black body. We're actually a human being, wholly living an experience. So when activists start talking about, hands off the black body, no, you're not just hands off the black body. Get your fucking hands off of me. Of me. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that took a hands off me. That's what we're talking to. And so we've gone all over the river and through the woods on this particular slide. But I do want to say that watch the puppets and watch the puppet masters. There's a certain Zionist collaborator that is always watching over the shoulder of our current sitting president. He's a part of 3 people that are in heavy advisement of the president. It ain't Elon. These are people who want to make sure, yes, I go to conspiracy theory rooms. Yes, I did go to fact check. They're called like here I go with the
You at least got to get the
they're
title
like,
right if you're going to go with conspiracy.
yeah, just so y'all can go down the there's a name for them, but they're the top 3. I found 11 keys. Okay, Susie Wiles, Laura Trump, Dana White, the guy of UFC, Linda McMahon of WWE, who's now running, I believe, the Department of Education. The Department of Education was under his first term was run by a lady named Betsy DeVos, who poured millions of dollars into my university, Lee University. There's a DeVos School of Education. So if I had gone through and become a music teacher, I would be funded under that treachery and evil. So I'm not disconnected from this. It's all one big web of white nationalism, posing itself as something good for us, but it's actually sucking the air out of the room. That's where I'll land on this slide as well, Tara, by saying that you made a very, very powerful point that I do not want us to pass up on in this episode as my coffee cooks my brain. It is that people have replaced going to church for being a mean-spirited Republican. It is an identity war. Red hats versus blue hats. And instead of going to church every Sunday morning, people are just logging into Fox News or who's the white man with the bald head who's now waking up to the fact that they are detainees,
Mr.
that
Clean?
they're
Mr. Clean?
No, Mr. Clean is what he looks like. He's a very prominent Joe Rogan.
Oh.
Joe Rogan was having this epiphany on his podcast about the fact that Mexican hairdressers who have crown tattoos on their hands should not be just looped into all of the evildoers they say are part here, who are part of the immigrant purge. They just swept up this random hairdresser, and he ended up in El Salvador with the rest of them, and they had to fight to get him out of that prison system because his hand tattoo matched that of he loves crowns. There's certain cartel groups and organized crime groups that have those same types of deal. You're brown, you've got the crown tattoo, you're a bad person, you're going to their version of Guantanamo. This is just history repeating, man. Like, I mean, this is what happened to the Asian people? A version of concentration camps.
Oh, yes.
And forced labor in 2025. Yes, Tara.
Right. Well, and if we're going to be real about it, it never left, and it started before the concentration camps because it started with the genocide of the indigenous people of the Americas. It all started there, and if we're going to be really real about it, the reservations that were signed off on in treaties are just concentration camps without support.
Still, indigenous women are highly percentages. There's a high percentage of indigenous women that just disappear off the reservations.
There's a Netflix film about this, and it's pretty disturbing, and yeah, and what I will say about the April 5th, if y'all haven't seen it, there is a thread that is still up of this woman, a white woman who went to her first protest yesterday and came home and had the audacity.
Here we go.
And the caucasity.
I know where this is
to say
going.
Why aren't there bouncy houses for the kids? And when I tell you that is the beginning and end of how much y'all have not learned, that's the beginning and end of how much y'all have not learned.
Not to play devil's advocate, and certainly not for a white lady. However, if activism and community service had more fun to it, like if you could show up for reparations and there was a bounty house, I'm like, let the kids bounce while we turn up about reparations or restorative justice. She knows better, though.
She does know better. I think, again, multiple things can be true. I think that we're making, and I've talked about this before, and and we talk about this every once in a while in like the rooms of the Power of Three, Poppy, Dr. Flo, and I, which like I talk often about how bothersome it is to me that we move goalposts on people as social justice folks, as Black people, at like we are often moving the goalposts. Like, for instance, like if I say, well, I want people to call me biracial, and then people start calling me biracial, and then I say, actually, like now you have to call me something else. Like
No, I'm
that's
Black biracial. I'm Black biracial.
right. Or like you have to, da 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 da. Now I'm not saying this is the same thing, but what I am pointing to a little bit is the litmus test and the moral superiority thing of like the backhanded slap of, and this is rightfully so, white people should be putting their bodies on the line, because they have not historically. It hasn't been a large enough percentage to move the needle. Yesterday's protests were very peaceful for reasons, and it was not because Black bodies were not there. It is because there was a lack of presence of police. Don't get that twisted. Portia posted about that, and Amanda from a podcast. She's a white lady, but she got blue hair, and she's a fun time. Anyway, she Wine and Crime Minnesota podcast.
Absolutely, like we have like a long time ago.
What?
I'm sorry.
You're not even on screen. I was like, "What you talking about, Willis?" Anyway, so all of these things.
Bobby asked me if I was clear from the show because I was texting while no, we're the opposite of clear. We're quite live. But anyway, keep going, Tara. My apologies.
But anyway, like I do feel like there have been a couple of like and the same thing that people try to do to Cory Booker. It's like, well, we asked you to do something and he did something and they did something. And now we're like, that you didn't do anything. What purpose do you think it served? And I agree with that because I'm like, y'all don't think this shit through. Right. Like it was interesting to me yesterday, in particular, the Minnesota protest in St. Paul, that it opened with a Native American ceremonial dance. That's a choice, I agree with you that it should have more fun, but it's a very, the current climate that we're in is a climate that has existed before, and it always turns into the end goal of supremacy culture, hierarchical culture, colonialization culture, which is genocide. That's where we're at, folks. Multiple genocides. So yeah, I just, the bouncy house got me. Like there should have been a bouncy house. And yes, there should be community. And this is where I wish the focus would go, is that there isn't community focused childcare for these things, right? We have not, there's no community, what did we used to talk about? Care infrastructure. There's no care infrastructure underneath of capitalism. Right. And that's why the Montgomery boycott was successful. That's why some longer movements, the civil rights movement, were able to take place, because there was care infrastructure that was in existence. Right. And we just have really lost that in the current climate.
Yeah, the love and care that we talk about almost every day. We have to find it. I think people are finally clicking into the fact that we are all interdependent. Whether you like it or not, your success is tied into a network of other humans. And you as a person who's received an incredible amount of help, you want it when you need it. You certainly do. Here's some current threads coming up through the algorithm. Kachuame KACHIUMEHH says, "You are not a tree. You can move."
You have said that before. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Elaine _Desiree.Wright says, "Slow writing
Yeah,
is still
agreed.
writing." Your Diagnosense, who I follow and retweet a lot, says, "It's wild how much resentment builds when you're always the one doing the caring, making the plans, thinking ahead, remembering the details, showing up again and again without it ever really being returned. If y'all are out here in relationships that feel like they're not balanced, it's okay. You know, I'm in a situation right now where energy is being balanced. It's okay to say, I'm not getting what I need. Here's how I think that you can help me with that need," or saying, "You can't help me with that need. Thank you for doing the things that you are doing. I'm going to go now and seek these needs out from someone else in the network or a complete stranger." This conversation was had earlier in the week also with Poppy and Back Channel. It's kind of like, whatever you all want to offer to a movement or to an organization or to a group or to a person, whatever time, talent, and treasure you want to offer, just put it out there and let it be enough. Don't let people get more from you. Don't let people extract from you. Don't let people certainly abuse you or take you or leave you for dry. There are certain energetic vampire type energies in the world and people that will just like suck, but like one strand at a time. You miss me yet? You miss me yet? You never left, kind of vibe. So, to this thread's point, you know, be mindful of the ways in which relationships can turn toxic if you don't communicate. Pastor B. Green Jr. says, "Green flag. They talk about conflict with maturity, not manipulation." Last one in this segment, your Diagnosense, who's clearly have turned into a favorite on Thread, says, "Nothing messes with your sense of self like being consistently undervalued. When you're giving your heart, your time, your care, and it's met with silence, snark, or indifference, eventually you start questioning your own needs. That's how self-abandonment begins." I'm going to read this one more time. Nothing messes with you. I got some Jesus juice off screen, y'all. Nothing messes with your sense of self like being consistently or constantly undervalued. When you're giving your heart, I heard Tara wince about this, so I'll let her riff for a little bit. Not let her, I'll invite her to and ask her to. This is not Handmaid's Tale over here. When you're under his eye, may the Lord open, blessed be the fruit. When you're giving your heart, your time, your care, and it's met with silence, snark, or indifference, eventually you start questioning your own needs. That's how self-abandonment begins. Can we talk a bit today about self-abandonment?
Yes, we can.
Ooh.
I think that whole thread is, I think a lot of parts are true. I'm
What are you
rejecting
rejecting?
that.
What are you chew the meat and spit up the bones? What are the bones you're leaving on the
part
table?
that I'm rejecting is that anything regarding the self starts with another person. Because it actually starts with you. Self-abandonment starts with you. It starts with the way that you feel about yourself, and because of the way that you feel about yourself, you're attracting people that respond to you in the ways that that thread says, right? And so, like, it's really easy, and this is one of the things, like, in the 4 years that I've been in relationship with Dr. Flo, and certainly in the last 10 years as I've really gone on, like, the personal development journey, the social justice advocate activism journey of which really is personal healing, right? Like it really is about individual healing. Girl, whatever just happened, that was scary. The base, I thought you were catching something. Anyway,
It was. There's a light about to hit the floor, and I just my primary light was about to go
It
down the
scared me.
hole.
It
I
scared
can
me.
go down the hole.
Yeah, I think that through that journey, one of the things that I've really reflected on is like, and I say it almost every day in our clubhouse rooms at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And I say our, it's really Dr. Flo's, but I'm there too, making it special. Anyway, is
It's definitely ours. I'd be a lone nut yelling, even in this
yeah,
podcast today. I would be a lone nut yelling
yeah.
into the woods.
I really have learned that everything that comes back to me and everything that is reflected towards me is just a reflection of like what I'm feeling about myself inside. So, like, for instance, to use a sort of innocuous thing, Dr. Flo and I were talking in the Unfuckwithable container the other day, and I was saying, like, should I get rid of my group chats? And the narrative that I've held for literally years, probably my entire life, is that I'm not good in groups. Not good in groups. I'm better one to one. I don't da 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 da. And Dr. Flo said something like, it seems like you don't like them. And I was like, well, I'm not good at them. And so like the reflection was from him, you don't like groups. And I realized it's not actually that I don't like groups. It's that I believe that I'm not good at them. And that reflection, that inner reflection, is showing others that I don't like groups, which is not something that I want to portray because actually I'm fine in groups. I sit with y'all in
Great at
WhatsApp
group.
all day, every day. I sit with you all in fucking
Great
Clubhouse
at
all day, every day. Like I sit on
all
TikTok
day.
with y'all in the comments all day, every day.
All day. So I'm like, why? Like, I was like, this doesn't make any sense because you do groups so well. Yet there seemed to be a resistance to groups, but
Yeah.
you put your
And so,
nail
like, I think so
on.
that's what I reject about that thread. But do I also agree that that we can all support each other better? Yes. And that's also something that I've learned in community with people, that I don't necessarily like get off about whatever topic they're talking about. Like, in particular, like, spirituality, religion, that kind of stuff. I just like arm's reach, but I'm around people all day, every day that are either recovering from church hurt, dealing with their deconstruction in religion, looking for African and other alternative spirituality methods. Are they're reaching in the same way that people are reaching for identity politics, is a replacement for traditional religion. And that is something that, like, I'm like, I want no part in that. I told Dr. Flo the other day, like, I don't even look for it. I literally don't think about it. But at the same time, I don't have to meet those people that are pursuing it and telling me about it with snark. I can meet them with claps, right? I can meet them with like a genuine interest in like the other day there was something about cinnamon, right? And I was like, "Can someone tell me the significance of cinnamon? Like, I don't know it. Can you tell me?"
It was
You know?
it was
Yes.
blowing
So and
cinnamon.
like there was much education had, and it's like, I don't really care. I'm not going to do it, but also like it means something to you so I can clap, right? Thank you for sharing with me, what about any blurbs about that thread?
What I love about you is that the whole time that I've known you, you've never made someone else responsible for what's going on with you. I respect that with my whole ass chest. You may not like it. It may not be to your preference. It may not even go the way you want it to go, but you don't blame others for what the fuck is going on with you. And it's forced me to actually look in the man in the mirror situation in my life and go like, yo, wait now. These are easy targets because they're close to you. but that's not the love and truth of the story. And you always, even, and like we talk about all the time, be mindful of the social media that you're taking in, because it could be tilted a little bit against you. We went from agreeing with this post to being like, wait, no. That goes against our core philosophy here, that I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul. I'm fully 100%, 125%, 500% responsible for what is reflected back to me from the outpouring of my life, positive, neutral, negative. And you've never allowed excuses to run rampant when it came time for us to take on the responsibility of owning our shit. And it doesn't always feel good when I turn it back on you. You've been very transparent about the fact that sometimes the lessons that you are dispensing will reflect back in a very ricocheting kind of way here. We work very fast in the areas of personal development, and it's something that bears remembering. Eleanor Roosevelt said, all of the water in the entire world, all of the water in all the oceans of the world cannot drown you unless you let it in. And we have ways here in the network that we talk about every day of gatekeeping your heart, gatekeeping your mind. If you believe in the soul and the spirit, there are ways in which you can keep the drowning waters out. It's salt water anyway. It's not going to nourish you. Where can we find responsibility for finding water to drink and water to serve? It's a big deal, Tara. A big deal. So that's my thoughts about those. Let's keep pushing through the slide deck.
This is
Squint for your life.
It's a repeating slide, thankfully. And I almost cut, it's story time about this. I almost cut off the bottom because I really want everyone to hear this. And I sort of checked Poppy Wada yesterday in our Power of Three conversation on and I check Dr. Flo on this every once in a while. Again, we are talking about white people, and I use that language as well, but also the tenets of whiteness can show up in any kind of body. And so I almost cut off the bottom of this, but because I think the first repeating part applies to everyone. But I'll read all of it.
Yeah, we believe here that no people group or any identity is a monolith. Monolith. A monolith.
I was going to check you, but you checked yourself.
I was having actually a monolith. A monolith was getting in the way. People are not a monolith, meaning that just because one black person did something to you that was unfavorable or against your preference, intentional language, or a white person or a purple person, or you cannot ascribe negative or positive attributes of any kind of human to the whole group. That's how you are maintaining and displaying your ignorance. So I'm with Sarah. I'm glad she didn't redact it so we can have the teachable moment. But every time you start to point your fingers at a white person that's problematic, I can name at least 5 black people or others in that same hypnotic rhythm. Right. In fact, I don't trust that black people are inherently on my side. And if you were white, I wouldn't do it either, given the historical context of it all.
Yeah, but I'll say a little bit more on that. But let me read this because the word inherently is here. Anger isn't inherently negative. Confrontation isn't inherently negative. Discomfort isn't inherently negative. Anger isn't inherently negative. Confrontation isn't inherently negative. Discomfort isn't inherently negative. One more time. Anger isn't inherently negative. Confrontation isn't inherently negative. Discomfort isn't inherently negative. White folks should should recite these daily affirmations, because unlearning white fragility starts with recognizing that accountability isn't violence. Go ahead.
Here we go. That's another whole situation too, because there's a whole book about white fragility. But if you're ever in a space with any kind of insecure person, you'll know that there's white fragility, there's white lady fragility, there's black, there's sure the fuck, I have it at times, black man fragility. You know, like we've become a culture that is so inundated with echo chambers that it's difficult to keep it grounded.
Right.
Happy root chakra day. But yeah, I'm with you on this.
You know, something that I used to say a lot and should bring back is become uncomfortable enough to change. And I mean that for everyone, like, because until we become uncomfortable, oftentimes we will not change in whatever that is. And I really, like, I think a lot of people associate discomfort, anger, those things, the thing that I said, right, as being negative. And it doesn't always have to be negative in the end of it all. And I also think that what you were talking about ascribing things that we see about one person or maybe even a small group of people to the rest of the group also applies to positive things. So I have met many a person in the LGBTQIA community that are like, Black people are so accepting of us because they've met a handful of Black people that are accepting, and that is amazing. But there is a large swath of Black people that are not. And so, like, that puts you as the person that, like, is of the LGBTQIA community in some harm's way, right? Because you decided that two people must mean that the whole community is welcoming, right?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, if you think all Black people are safe right now for LGBTQIA people, I wouldn't recommend traveling to Trinidad and Tobago, where they are sentencing gays for buggery.
Right.
Look it up, to 5 years prison sentence. So I mean, how safe is that? How safe is that? All right. Let's talk. Speaking of safety, there is a gentleman who's been in prison longer than I've been alive, who came through the North Carolina judicial system before fair sentencing laws, meaning that we know that he was within like the window of a few weeks, I think is how the story goes, of being offered fair sentencing for his alleged crime back in the 70s. He's now cleaning a North Carolina prison to the tune of 30 cents a day under capitalism and the industrial prison complex. And we just raise his voice as often as we can. I've been very clear about the fact that I don't think that the organization that supports him support all Black men. I think that they try to make him exceptional and a few other people in town exceptional. I do not stand for that. However, I do stand for him. I hate that he was railroaded by our American justice system and that the world does not know about who he is because of the anti-Blackness, both in the organization that supports him, but also at large in the world. When Tara's telling you to be anti-racist in your life, she's talking about sending an email for this stranger that you don't know who's been in jail making 30 cents a day. We have a hard time, loved and lovable, convincing the community that it's important to raise voice in these free ways. I've not sent as many emails as I used to, but I'm still sending enough, and I'm CCing Tara and Wanda because I cannot let this gentleman be forgotten. Once again, what they do to one of us, they will attempt to do to all of us. And those of you sitting back watching other Black and brown bodies be led into a white nationalist guillotine, you are complicit in the harm being caused to someone like Charles McNair and to people like Tara and I. And I don't mince words about this. He is in a institutional form of the public modern day lynching tree. He's been an example in this community of how to hush up and to not speak up for 40 some years. And we speak his name. We see the injustice. Just because you ignore the injustice and just because you choose to run your 501c3 in very interesting ways doesn't mean that he's not worthy. I almost gave up on him because of the people surrounding him until I realized that he is a brother like me. I almost threw my hands up. Tara has been part of the bridge building experience. We tried to coach this team on how to amplify their message. We tried to pour in locally. They don't seem to want that. But Charles is still worthy, even on the days when the people around him are anti-Black. Charles is still worthy, even when the people around him want to clout chase and make political moves instead of raising his name. He's still worthy inside and outside of our situation. So I just wanted to bring him up. Anything about Charles this week, Tara?
Much like yesterday, and I understand that many of you are scared of, fear is false evidence appearing real, right? But you're scared of doing something for reasons about ricocheting. But I assure you, you can create an anonymous email account and send an email on Charles's behalf. Like, that's an easy thing to do. Call, you don't have to leave your name. And so this is a, again, it's a very easy way to do something that is focus. And I think I said this when we first started talking about Charles McNair, but the reason that we focus on specific cases, right? Specific instances of harm and mistreatment is because, as Dr. Flo said, what happens to one can happen to the whole, right? The reason that we get so upset about one college student being removed from a college campus is because it could happen to the entire campus, right? And so we care about that. So this is a really easy way to get your feet wet in activism, in social justice, and in a way that is all positive. There's no question on this. Even if he's guilty, which he's not, but even if he was guilty, fair sentencing says he would have served a maximum of 12 years. He has served 44, and that is 30 years too many.
He served 44, and his sentence that he was given was life plus like an additional 10 years or something. So he'd have to die and then come back to life and then serve another 10 years in order to be worthy of being free in the society. And I'm going to say it one more time. His lawyers and judges were reading from slave journals and Confederate texts every weekend while they were processing Black people through their unfair system. Why do you think they made fair sentencing laws? Because white people in power and in the local judiciary systems were making an example of tons of people in this community. And they all have names, and they all have families, and they all have value, and they're all worthy of dignity. This is just wild to me. But justice for Charles McNair. All right, Sarah, we got to wind this up because I got an errand to run.
It's a really simple one, y'all. I just go educate yourself on tariffs. Trump enacted or signed the paperwork or whatever he did to put tariffs on penguins, in fact, but also much of the literally on Antarctica. Like, he put tariffs on countries that have more penguins than people. Yes. And he called it Liberation Day. And so just, I didn't bring any threads or anything like that. But essentially what I want to hammer home is that the average American is going to be paying the price of this, regardless of what the people in power say. You will be paying the price because your goods from other countries that provide a massive amount of American capitalist consumption are tariffed, including China. So how about that? We can move.
Yes. They say that this is the golden age of America being ushered
When
in.
the stock market fell like some tremendous number of points.
When people talk to me about the stock market, it's kind of like talking to me about Mickey Mouse or the Tooth Fairy. It's kind of like it's a whole big multi-billion-dollar system that's got a bunch of tech bros and white guys at the top, and they're talking about man-made chaos. Like every time I see like the number plunge or whatever, I'm like, who made that graphic and who decided that today was the day that it would all like
think it's
like, and people will jump off a trigger warning to the room, especially if you're on platforms that don't support free speech. People will jump off of something tall today and unalive themselves in the name of zeros and ones in the stock market. I'm like, that is a computer program. And I always see the stock market as legitimized Vegas.
Right. I don't know why we base the economy welfare off of the stock market. Because I don't have any stocks, girl. Like I don't.
So why am I in it? Why am I in it? Like Nene said, why am I in it? So just be careful, y'all. Tariffs will affect you. They are already affecting us in the locations where we shop. This Liberation Day narrative will affect us. Just be a preservationist of your peace. Please. If you got to put on your ranger outfit like they do in conservationist clubs and groups, and save yourself. Black people did it yesterday. Black people were conservators and preservers of their peace yesterday. Keep that energy. My personal life kind of went berserk yesterday. However, I wasn't out in the streets fighting white people's issues on top of it. So I did half of the labor yesterday, and I'm grateful. All right, we're gonna skip my threads rant and push forward. Yeah.
This I just wanted to lift. We don't even have to talk about it because we already kind of did. ICE isn't detaining people; they're kidnapping people. Understand the difference. I think we talked about this last time. This might have been a leftover slide. I'm not sure. But needless to say, ICE is doing bad things. ICE should not even be in existence. They're kidnapping people. U.S. citizens.
We don't need Gestapo. We don't need Gestapo. People don't, unless you know that someone has nefarious intent. I'm gonna point back again to the video that we see circulated online of the NYPD female officer having the fruit lady hemmed up, with a bunch of other humans standing around watching her. Like, this is a problem that law enforcement officers are being consolidated and networked in a way to create a surveillance system that targets law-abiding people. If they were actually going after nefarious people, that would be one situation. But they are trying to create a propaganda of false evidence appearing real to make us all afraid of making money, except in the ways that they want us to. And they really want to put us all into like a little, like you do with the cattle. They want to herd us into specific ideologies and belief systems. We reject that. All I can say is no one has ever been detained by ICE in my presence to date. and I don't see that ever happening. These things happen, like once again, Poppy Water talks about this all the time. I've been trained by Black Lives Matter New York for the upstanding principles. You have to really train yourself and condition yourself to be a person that actually says, take your hand off of her because she's wearing a burqa. We had an issue in New York City when I was living there full time where people were going around and tormenting Muslim appearing people. It never happened on a train that I was in, and I was around Muslim people all the time because there's a certain vibe that a group of people can carry that if you're going to do something horrible to someone, you won't do it here. And Tara always talks about like how much of a witch she's not. But Tara's very tapped into her intuition. And I guarantee you, not harming herself or bringing harm to her family, if someone needed a, hey, knock that shit off, it would come from her in the Target and the Starbucks. I'm that type of person too. Like, these stories of women being sexually assaulted in plain daylight. RAPE is the word that I can't use in some spaces. The fact that this is happening while whole courtyards look on and things is a problem. And we have to instill confidence in people. We have to make them believe that if you, and I always established this when I was living in New York full time, I will walk onto a train and know who my safe people are. And when Boo Boo the Fool comes walking through the train or opens the door while the train's moving and comes through, there's a camaraderie that I instantly establish, mostly with the Black people, but some white people as well. That's like, yo, if shit pops off on this train, you're going to the left foot and I'm going to the right, and we're going to pull it like a wishbone at Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah.
But that's all nonverbal discussion.
I remember this conversation with a mutual that we have, who said, because what you said kind of made me laugh, because I do put off an air, I should say, of you cannot mess with me and you cannot mess with the people around me. And I remember somebody saying to me once, I wish someone would step to you so that you could do, like, I was like, people don't step to me. They do not. And if they do, like the person that called me gross, you know where they ended up. Like, no,
people that step to us or step to me have to put themselves in direct conflict, violation, like in the way of what I've got going on. This is why I don't have many friends either, is because you have to really like insert yourself into my personal narrative in order to have root and focus from me, because we're trying to heal 800,000 people who don't want to be on the planet this year. So I don't have time to like fight and go back and forth. I certainly don't have time. The gentleman learned in the street to be swung on, my face, like, I mean, all of that is just preventable bullshit and nonsense. And once again, ICE is terrorizing people. They're also terrorizing people in this community. I hope that people know that as long as I'm in the midst or on the scene, no harm will come to you. I also want you all to Google and look up videos of a de-arresting protocol. There are people who will train you online for free of how to de-arrest a friend or comrade that has been taken. I've personally released people from the custody of the police. I've personally put my hands into it and pulled my comrade back from the armed cops. It is not something that's hard to do. It's not something that will put you in danger if you outnumber them. Their daily videos. You should also refresh your spirit by look up the videos of those who overtook the police. Once you see it once, look up things like the Haitian Revolution. Once you get into look up Assata Shakur. Okay. Once you get it into your hypnotic rhythm that you cannot be taken, you will not be taken. Once you get into your hypnotic rhythm that you're going to have a problem. Like, it's been very clear. I put this out on public record. You come to try to take me or my people, you may not see the next person to take.
ever. Next. Oh God, it's so
All right.
small. Unfriendly. This is just there won't be too much discussion. I just like the way it was stated.
No, let's live.
Unfriendly fucking reminder that mask bans, KK cop cities, and genocide are Democrat policies. They truly didn't need a Republican administration to contribute to American fascism. The system is bad. The system is bad. Stop thinking it's merely the people in charge of it. A penny for your thoughts, not a token for your caucus. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
on today.
God.
One more time.
Yeah.
One more time. One more time. Unfriendly fucking reminder that mask bans, KK Cop City, and genocide are Democrat policies. They truly didn't need a Republican administration to contribute to American fascism. The system is bad. The system is bad. Stop thinking it's merely the people in charge of it. A penny for your thoughts, not a token for your caucus.
When that old lady Chuck Schumer stood up there and said, "Do I have permission to interrupt you?" Then the black man said, "No, you actually don't." And then he went and introduced him anyway, or interrupted him anyway on behalf of the caucus. Once again, that have not done anything for our black asses substantially in the last 400 years. We're not going to booty clap for y'all doing the bare minimum for all humans, Chuck Schumer. We're not going to clap for a system that is currently unaliving our grandmothers. That shit's weird. And we've talked a lot about that. Ceasefire now. In our hearts, in our minds, in my keystrokes. There's a lot of hurting people in the world. We do not recommend through trial and error here that you take on every social justice issue. Trying to heal even a social need in every one of my identities would overwhelm me. Black people have needs, queer people have needs, crazy people have needs. Those are three niches that I fall under, and I can't heal it all. So we just heal as much as we can, moment by moment. My love revival is not unalived yet. So much to say about this. What I will say is that if you are honest, open, willing, and available, and willing to bring just a little bit of your time, talent, and treasure. We have people here who pay out of their paychecks. We have people here who volunteer out of their time. We have people here who, there's just so many ways in which to use your time, talent, and treasure for good, but we will accept that with great joy to let 800,000 people know through storytelling and amazing art that they are loved and lovable. Here's a little graphic of what I think it will look like. Please donate at lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link. Tara and Angie, random last week while I was doing a little show for the cause, sent money in. That money turned into grocery money for Poppy, Water, and I earlier in the week. So don't think that you can't contribute. Every $5, $10, $15, $20 matters. Talking shit about us doesn't do anything. Talking to us could encourage us, but it also doesn't always do, like we were talking about earlier, complaint doesn't make a change. And so we're just super grateful that people are not complaining with us or commiserating in it, but they're allowing the apples that are falling off of their apple cart to pour into our basket. And we are so grateful. Tara, tell them about
Adopt
being
a Black
Black.
Artist is a program that is developing as we speak, but for the most part, we post onto social media on Fridays, on the Love and Action Network page, on Dr. Flo's page, and my page, and then House of Mami Wata Instagram. We choose a Black artist, and we're moving to our newest applications this week. And what we do is we just post what you need and we refeature you. We're working on a directory, and we're also working on bringing people onto the podcast so you can get to know these people a little bit better, as well as making sure that they get their needs met in any way that we can help them. So if they're interested in learning more about social media or et cetera, or branding, we're going to get them into spaces where we help with that. So that is Adopt a Black Artist, I believe. Oh, and you can apply at lovedandlovable.bio.link. Make sure you fill out the entire application. Otherwise, we can't see your answers. You're on mute, babe.
And just to interject on that, to the ancestors alone, and now Tara and all of you, it's important to know that this is a mentorship program. So if you're coming in, we will give you the street cred. We will tell people about your needs, but we're really trying to grow up an army of Black and brown artists who don't have opportunity to see their dream fully actualized. These are the people. Think about and you shouldn't feel, poorly about getting help if you need it, but we're still fighting that hypnotic rhythm as well in certain spaces of our community. However, just know that this is a program we want to stick. We want to stay/stick with you for 3, 6, 9 months and just make sure that you are solidly growing.
Right. And if you're not a Black person, you can nominate a Black artist. You can nominate them as a Black person as well. But if you are not a Black person, you can also, if you don't know any Black artists or you're uncomfortable doing the nomination, you can go to the link in bio and you can download our previous groupings of graphics, and you can post them to your social media, or you can share to your stories and let other people know about our artists. Dr. Flo flipped the page and then went back, but
There's
I am also
nominate a Black person. There's one.
nominate a Black person. I'm expanding this. I haven't made the graphic yet, but my goal is to raise $200 a month to start a pool of funds that I can pull out of, and other artists can pull out of, other teachers, that just essentially sits there and gains traction and gains money. That's $200 a month in my studio would pay for 2 students to have half-hour lessons for each month. And so if you're interested in joining that, you can go to my link in bio, tarapriolo.com/links. I don't remember what's next on the thing. Dr. Flo has to flip the page. Now hiring. I talk in the Clubhouse room every day. But if you are interested in being a part of the Love Experience, Dr. Flo talked a little bit about that earlier. In any way, whether that's backstage, front stage, as a performing artist, you can go to lovedandlovable.bio.link and you can apply or audition or both. And then we have,
if you would like me to teach you to use your voice or capital V voice in any space, we've got myself and a group of Healy practitioners that are really awesome and confident and courage. We would love to teach you how to use your voice and to speak up for the things that are important to you. We're growing in our voice every day and maximizing and increasing our incomes. And we would love to just be in a band, if you will, of bold believers in the fact that dreams do come true by the power of our imagination, our belief, and our action every day. I want to thank y'all so much for watching today. We hold space for love and joy and peace in our own special way. We also hold space for deconstructing these big ideas that we have that are just made up of small little thoughts and beliefs that metastasize into a life. So any closing thoughts for you, Tara, before taking us out of here?
cute last thread of like the back of house of this podcast. Adorable. But that's it. Yeah, that was cute. That was cute, girl. I'm hoping that went out to all the socials so I can share it because I think it's adorable. But yeah, I don't really have any closing thoughts. Y'all realize that a lot of the things that we talk about end up in the same pockets of big ideas, and that is because we are all connected to one another and most things relate to the same things, the same cycle of things. And so we're very interested in getting down to the root of the problem instead of addressing the symptoms all the time. And with that, from all of us here at Love and Action Network, Poppy Water 33, Awesome Angie Enterprises, and Novelties, Her Story True, Cece, Dr. Flo, Jimmy Jams, Loretta, and the whole fun bunch across the interwebs. Continue to be anti-racist. That's for everybody. Be safe, wear a mask, make good trouble, do good work. I love y'all hardcore. You are loved and lovable, and nobody can change that. Joy is the revolution.